Hey guys, my name is Tians. Today I'm going to show you how to connect a Power BI template app from AppSource to your local SQL Server hosted or on-premises environments through the Microsoft on-premises gateway. First thing we're going to do is just check if the on-premises gateway is up and running and online. You can see in this case that is if you're having a problem, I suggest that you go to services and you make sure that these two services are running. Now let's head over to the Microsoft Marketplace and we'll search for ForesightSA. You can also look for Syspro. We'll find our app over there. Click there. It's our profit and loss analysis for Syspro, which is what we're going to use in this example. Click Get Now. You can also get this from the Microsoft Power BI service. Let's go over there. Okay, once in the Power BI service, let's head over to Apps. And to the right, click on Get App. Do the same. We will go to template apps. We'll type in Syspro, or we'll type in ForesightSA, and you'll see there on our two apps. We're going to pick the profit and loss app for this example, and we're going to install it. There we go. Let's click Get It Now. Okay, understood. Now this app will be installing. Click Install again. So before I started this install and before we head over to connections and gateways, I had 0 connections and I have 1 active gateway, so we'll show you that in a minute. Once it's installed, you don't need to go to the app, but if you do, here we go. This is the app loaded with all the demo data. So there's a profit and loss statement. You'll see at the top there it says connect to your data. Don't do that yet, because this applies only to when you have a cloud or Azure SQL database or SQL instance. So if not, we're going to do on-premises today. So I'll go click back. What we need to do now is go to Workspaces. We'll find a new workspace there with the report and the semantic model. And we'll see it over there. Once we've done that, we'll continue on with the process. So I'm going to take you back. I'm going to take you over to the gateways and connections portion. So what we want to do is we want to click on the settings, little gear over there. We want to go to manage gateway or manage connections and gateways. Good. Once you come into this screen, you'll see under connections, you already have 5 connections set up, and this is because the app, when it's installed, will take all the default values that's in the parameters, which we'll get to in a little bit, and it will create default connections. Unfortunately, I don't know why Microsoft does that, but it's part of the automation in when you install template apps. We'll deal with that in a minute. Let's go to on-premises gateways. You'll see there's our gateway that we checked before. Now I'm going to click on that little icon, check status. We're going to run and see if this gateway in fact is online. There we go. Excellent. So what we want to do is head back to the report page. And what we want to do now is go to the semantic model. So we want to start working with the connections and the parameters. To do this, you have 2 options. You can click on these 3 dots. More options, and you can either go to settings, or a quicker way is to click on the scheduled refresh will also take you into the settings page. Right, here we go. Inside the settings page, what I want to do first is go to the parameters portion, and now you need to complete the parameters correctly. And once that is done, we will then create connections for them that will go through the gateway, and you'll be able to refresh your on-premises data. Let's add some parameters. First parameter, or start of your financial or fiscal year. Second parameter, the on-premises SQL Server name or address. Third parameter is the SQL database or Syspro company name. Fourth parameter is the UDM file source type, and just leave it exactly the way it is. Then the fifth parameter is the UDM SharePoint Site URL. Essentially, we are using a mapping file inside our income statement. This is held inside a file called a UDM or user-defined mapping table, which is in Excel. And pretty much how you get to that URL is you open that Excel spreadsheet in SharePoint, or actually, in fact, you open it in desktop app, then you go to File, Info, and copy the location. I'll put inside the notes in the description how you can actually get that to just be your company site. And then secondly, what is the location in parameter 6 for the UDM file, and that is a portion of that URL. Good, on to 7. Leave that UDM file name exactly like it is. And then finally, you need to add a valid license key if this was purchased through our website. Then click Apply. Apply. Good. So we have our real parameters filled in now, and we're ready to create some gateway connections. What you want to do is stay inside, you go expand gateway and cloud connections, and you'll see, if this isn't showing, you'll see there's your gateway and some information, and then there's an arrow to the right, view data sources. Click on that, and you'll see the 3 essential data sources for which we are going to create connections. At the bottom, it says cloud connections. These are essentially 2 cloud connections, but because we're using a gateway for SQL Server, Microsoft wants the rest of the connections to also be essentially come through the on-premises gateway. I mean, it won't do that realistically, but that's just the way the configuration is going to work. So we will ignore cloud connections for now, and for the future, we'll not configure that. So first data source, we are going to go to add gateway. So we add this connection, and the first connection is just literally our license key validation call. So let's call this license valid connection, and I'll just put a 1 at the end to ensure this is not a connection name that's inside the already pre-created connections that we are going to ignore. So we have that. We're going to go down. We're not changing anything there. We want to go check the authentication method. This must be anonymous. Then you want to click on skip test connection. This is important. You have to tick that on. And lastly, you want to also create this as organizational. So let's click create, and I hope we didn't get the name wrong. Excellent. Back into settings. So that means we had success. I'll come here, back to gateway, cloud connections, expand the actions, and you'll see the first one's got a tick there. And if you go to Mac 2, you now have a connection. don't select that yet. Not going to make a difference right now. Let's complete the rest of the connections. Next, we will create a connection to the SQL Server. Click We'll add to gateway. Again, let's give it a unique SQL Server or unique connection name. So I'm just going to say Syspro SQL Connection 1. You'll see the server name or server address is already completed. This comes from your parameters. Then you need to add your Syspro database name or company name, authentication method. You typically will probably use either basic, which basic refers to a SQL Server user, that if you have been assigned a SQL Server user, that you can access SQL Server on-prem. This is what you'll choose. So let's pick basic, but if you pick Windows, then essentially you will add your Windows login name, but in front you have to add the domain name. So if you don't do that, it's not going to be happy. So please remember the backslash and the domain name. So for this, we're going to click basic. In fact, actually, I'm lying. We're going to do Windows, bring a Windows password. Okay. We leave everything else untouched, and then privacy level will be organizational. Right, click create. This one typically, there we go, it takes a minute or two, but not this time. Done. Again, gateway cloud connections. And you'll see now we have a healthy green tick next to SQL Server. Just give that a second. There we go. And you'll see there's the connection name. Right. Lastly is the UDM File Location, which is in SharePoint, OneDrive. So we're going to go click again to Gateway. We're going to create a connection. I'm just going to call it UDM SharePoint Connection 1. That's fine. Don't change anything there. Authentication method should be anonymous. We will, and privacy level organizational. So I think that's, in fact, I'm lying. Authentication method should be auth2, because if it is your SharePoint, you'll need to enter your credentials, as you see over here. So let's enter the credentials. Over here, we're just going to add your actual SharePoint credentials. I think we're going to use this one. Hopefully it doesn't break. Should be fine. None of that. Excellent. We got a tick. Like our credentials, click create. And there we go. All three done. Gateway, cloud connections. Wait for it to do a little configuration. And there we go. Status, we have our on-premises running. All our data sources are configured. So now what we want to do is map each to its connection and then apply. So let's start with the web URL, license valid connection. Secondly, my Syspro connection, SQL connection, and then lastly, my SharePoint connection. There we go. We want to go and hit apply. Apply is done, and you are now connected. So you'll also see there's a portion here, data source credentials. If you've done all this and there's an issue going forward with any of your credentials potentially changing, things like that, it will ask you to change it over here. So the data source credentials now is correct, but in future it might change, and this is where you will come to make those changes. Right. What we're going to do is see if our report's going to refresh. So we'll do firstly a manual refresh, then come back here once it's successful, and then we'll schedule a daily refresh. So let's go back, navigate back to our profit and loss, and we'll still see it says here you're viewing this app sample data. Again, always ignore that until this process is finished. So now what we want to do is click refresh now. This is the moment of truth. So you'll see this little thing turn, and the initial refresh might take between 1 and 5 minutes, depending on what is the situation. Once that is done, we'll be happy to update the schedule and schedule your refresh, multiple daily refreshes, once a day, once a night. And then you can apply, and pretty much the report will, the semantic model and the report, would be refreshed according to that schedule. There we go, done. There's our refresh time. And you'll see there, next refresh is not applicable yet. We'll have to set up that schedule. So let's quickly head back to schedule refresh. We'll go and find beneath parameters, refresh, and then you simply choose your time zone and then configure the refresh schedule. Click that on. And you can now choose weekly, daily. You can add another time to it, etc. And we'll do this. It's maybe 5 in the morning, and send refresh failure and critical warning notifications. If something goes wrong, it will come to the semantic model owner, but you can also add additional email addresses. We hit apply. And there we go. Back to the report, and I'll open the report. There we have our income statement, refreshed, it's ready to go on your own Syspro data. We'll also see that there is, we go back, update the app to apply and see changes. So let's do that. It's the final step. And you'll see that connect to your data is now gone. So we'll click update, and we'll click update again. And that's it. Done. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you found it valuable or interesting at least. If you have any questions, please post them below. All the additional info will be in the comments section. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe. Thank you.